Sinopharm's COVID-19 vaccine is now listed for emergency use by the World Health Organization. The health department now wants to speed up its emergency use authorization here in the Philippines, but there is little effort from China's state-run drug maker. Close to 200,000 COVID vaccines from Pfizer are set to finally arrive tonight, care of the COVAX facility. The health department has ordered those who went swimming at a resort in Caloocan City over the weekend to undergo 14-day quarantine. Pag-asa is warning the public against heat cramps and heat exhaustion in the coming days. The State Weather Bureau's 5-day forecast shows that in Metro Manila alone, the heat index could hit as high as 39.5 degrees Celsius. And in lighter news, Dracula's Castle in Romania is offering free COVID-19 vaccines. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's a roundup of stories we're watching now. I'm Sean Yao. Let's kick things off with the latest vaccine update. The health department will take the initiative to file an emergency use application for Sinopharm's vaccine as the Chinese state-run pharmaceutical firm drags its feet on the issue. Greg Gregorio with the report.
The World Health Organization has approved the emergency use of Sinopharm's COVID-19 vaccine. It's the first China-made shot to be included in the WHO's emergency use listing. Data show that a 2-dose vaccine has 79% efficacy and is recommended to be used among those aged 18 to 59.
Kapag sinasabing nasa emergency use list ng WHO, ibig sabihin it went through a very rigorous regulatory process.
Here in the Philippines, Sinopharm has no EUA yet, but limited use is allowed under a compassionate special permit. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III now wants the Food and Drug Administration to expedite its emergency use approval of the China-made vaccine. The catch? It's not that state-run pharmaceutical firm, but our Department of Health that will do the legwork.
I have already instructed the Bureau of Public Health Services Office of the DOH to file with FDA for issuance of an emergency use authorization.
Once the EUA is granted, the government will no longer need to return some 1,000 doses donated by the vaccine maker as ordered by President Duterte. Recall that no less than Duterte received backlash for taking Sinopharm's vaccine even without an EUA. The DOH says they are still working with the WHO and the Finance Department to complete the documents.
This is the pathway na tinitignan namin ngayon for Sinopharm. Baka pwedeng dito na lang kami dadaan, mas magiging mabilis ang proseso. But of course, as I've said, we still go through the usual regulatory process.
Meanwhile, the distribution of additional AstraZeneca shots that arrived over the weekend has started. Metro Manila, Central Luzon, and Calabarzon will receive the biggest allocation. More jabs from Sputnik V, AstraZeneca and COVAX facility are scheduled to arrive in the coming weeks. For News 5, Greg Gregorio, we are One News.
The health department has ordered the strict monitoring of all those who were present at the Gubad sa Ciudad Resort in Caloocan City over the weekend. Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres said that those who went swimming at the resort should undergo 14 days of quarantine to prevent the spread of the virus. Over the weekend, dozens of visitors were caught violating COVID-19 protocols at the resort, which was found illegally operating amid the MECQ. Let's now chat with Dr. Ronjean Solante, head of San Lazaro Hospital's Adult Infectious Diseases Department and a member of the vaccine expert panel about what went on last weekend and other vaccine-related issues. Good afternoon, as usual, Dr. Solante. First off, what was your reaction to that pool party in Caloocan City that went viral over the weekend?
Yeah, so we were surprised about it, not because that kind of activity is a super spreader event, and we know that we're not yet, in terms of our cases, is not yet stabilized. No? So we need to really again rethink what are we doing? Why are we doing this type of activities at this point of the pandemic? Where cases are still very high.
All right. Again, just to reiterate to the public, Doc, what are the risks associated with this kind of mass gathering? Any fresh warnings or reminders for the public, of course, coming from an infectious disease expert like yourself?
Yeah, we know that most of the surge of cases experienced in the past here in our setting is being mainly driven by these gatherings, especially this type of gatherings where almost nothing or none of the minimum health protocol standard has been complied with, no? And when you have this type of gathering, you know the consequences, and we don't want to let our guards down in terms of this type of activities, because these are again the start of another surge or whatever is that. Please don't be complacent about this type of activities. I know it's summer, it's very hot, but there are other ways of making ourselves comfortable rather than being in this type of mass gathering or people gathering.
Right, loud and clear, Doc. Again, reiterating the maintenance of safety protocols. Let's move on now to vaccine-related issues. The fact that Sinopharm's vaccine, Doc, has already gotten the WHO's emergency use listing. Can we say now that we actually know enough about this Chinese-made jab and its effectivity because the WHO already gave it approval, basically?
Yeah, honestly, if you have a WHO EUL part of that EUL, then you have already one foot in terms of a vaccine that has been validated and passed through that assessment and evaluation. But still, Sean, no, they still need to submit the same documents that we in the government, in the VEP and the FDA requires for them to be fully evaluated and granted the EUA in our own country, even that they have an EUL with the WHO.
That's right. So now what the DOH wants to know, and we just aired the report about that, can the Philippine government or the DOH really process Sinopharm's EUA on its behalf? Is there any reason why the state-run vaccine maker has not submitted requirements as yet that you know of, Doc?
Well, if they can access the documents that were submitted to the WHO, then that could be an important document also, no? Because more or less the requirements, the documents that we reviewed for EUA approval, more or less mirrors that of the WHO. No? But again, what if there are other questions, clarificatory questions that in that documents cannot be answered by those documents? So we need answers coming from the manufacturer itself or for those who did the trial of this particular vaccine.
Right. So thank you for answering our concerns, at least from that front. Now, there's also the angle of it might be a conflict of interest, Dr. Solante, if the DOH submits these documents to the local FDA, which is actually a subordinate agency of the DOH. So do you see any problems with this arrangement moving forward?
That's a big problem because of a conflict interest. You are applying for an EUA of a pharmaceutical, and you're the ones who also be using this vaccine. Definitely, that's where the conflict of interest is.
All right, and we also have noted a slight downward trend in active cases and new cases in the last week or so. Octa Research Group has said that, yes, they are observing the same downtrend, but whether or not this holds will be a different matter altogether. Do you think that cases will go down again to maybe 2,000, 3,000 anytime soon, Doc?
Yeah, that's a good number of cases that we have had for the past week, and it's really downtrending. And I hope we can maintain it, and hopefully we're looking at 2,000, 3,000 in the next week. And if that's the case, then that's good enough that we can open up the lockdown to a more relaxed lockdown, quarantine. But again, people should still maintain the minimum health standard protocol wherever you go, in the workplace, in the public transportation, and even in fact at home.
Right. So, Doc, you are hopeful, of course, like you said, that the cases will go down in 2 to 3 weeks or maybe within the next week, go down to 2,000 to 3,000 cases. Right now, we're still logging in over 6,000 cases to 7,000 cases a day. How would this number drastically half or cut in half within a week?
That's why the monitoring of these cases is very important. And again, with the event that just happened, that particular event in that resort, that's not something that we have to encourage. No, we have to strictly implement the health protocol wherever we are, so to maintain the number of cases going down. So in that way, I'm hopeful that there will be a significant drop in the number of cases. We already felt it in the hospitals, in the healthcare facility, and it's just a matter of time, hopefully, that the cases will really stabilize to 2,000 and 3,000.
All right, thank you as usual for your time. That was Dr. Rogine Solante, head of the Adult Infectious Diseases Department in San Lazaro Hospital and a member of the vaccine expert panel. Moving on to other stories we're keeping our eyes on. The first batch of Pfizer vaccines from the COVAX facility are finally arriving tonight. Some 193,000 doses will be distributed to Metro Manila and other cities that can handle the jab's ultra-low storage temperature requirement of -80 to -60 degrees Celsius. Bayan Muna has slammed the NTF-ELCAC for designating additional spokespersons. Representative Carlos Zarate warns that more lies will be spread and that red tagging activities will continue now that the task force has 8 spokespersons. And the heat index in Pag-asa Sangli Station could hit 41.1 degrees Celsius tomorrow, according to Pag-asa's forecasts. Meanwhile, in Tuguegarao, in CLSU, Science Garden, and Lawag, forecasts have the maximum heat index ranging from 31.9 degrees to 40.2 degrees Celsius from May 11. And because of this, Pag-asa advises the public to stay indoors and drink plenty of water regularly. Now on to some lighter news. Visitors of Dracula's castle in Romania are more likely to find puncture marks in their arms than their necks, as a vaccination site has been set up in the Transylvanian attraction. Doctors and nurses with fang stickers on their PPEs are offering free Pfizer vaccines to visitors of the 14th century Bran Castle, which is said to be an inspiration for Dracula's home. Castle staff hope that the service will draw in more people to the site as the number of tourists declined since the pandemic. Anyone who is willing to be vaccinated can visit the castle every weekend in May. Aside from getting the jab, they will also get free entry to the castle's exhibit of 52 medieval torture instruments. For more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Sean Yao. We are One News.